You have this great idea that will really help you find and connect with your ideal clients. You can feel it in your gut. You have the main pieces of the puzzle, but a few of the details are a little too fuzzy for you to make the big move. In this week's Hot Seat episode, Ashley knows exactly what connects her to her ideal clients: book talk. She wants to combine their shared interest with her natural gift of local networking, but just needs help clarifying on her steps. Jonathan helps Ashley expand on her idea and identify a piece that may not be worth the effort involved to help her save time and frustration. I'll be back at the end to recommend another episode. Enjoy.
Ashley, you are up, my friend. So, you know the drill. Who you are, who you work with, and what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I'm Ashley. I work with currently burned out moms who want to get stronger and feel confident and put themselves first again. I'd like to apologize, John, for whatever rabbit hole I sent you down today with book talk. For those of you who don't know what book talk is, that's okay.
Don't
So
Google
basically,
it.
you know what?
I said, don't Google it.
Sorry. So basically, like my bigger question is working within my superpower of community, like local community.
Yeah.
Right. So I have found that there is, this niche of people who it's book talk people, but like going to local bookstores and
Mm-hmm.
like they are so clicky there, and like it's such an amazing community, and they will do anything and everything together, and they go to these book launches there, and that is just it's part of my passion as
Yeah.
well. So I had this thought, and with Grazel too, of like, oh, I want to do these themed challenges based off of some of these fantasy books. When I went to the bookstore, the locally owned bookstore here, I was like, hey, I'm doing a themed challenge based off of this book that you guys promote within your store. I was wondering if I could leave my information here.
What explain to me, because this is the part that I didn't understand from, or I didn't know, um, based off your messages back and forth that we had before this. What what would the challenge entail? Like, how does that look?
Okay, so Gracel's laughing. So basically, it would be based off of a book. There is one that I'm working on right now, and it would be a Valkyrie challenge. So it would be strength, cardio, and nutrition. So it'd be a 3-week challenge based each week off of one of those three things.
Okay.
And then it's just themed off of that book, that
Got
whatever
it.
I'm doing challenge would be
How long would it go?
3 weeks.
And it's the type of thing that people would be reading the book at the same time. Like would that be part of it?
They could, like it could line up with the launches that they do at the bookstore as well. But probably people have already read the book.
Right. Okay. So so the challenges themselves would not be that much different or different at all from what you would do anyway.
Correct.
This would be just a way to really appeal to a very specific audience who likes to read these types of books and understands these characters and perhaps admires these characters or aspects or elements of them.
And
Okay,
marketing in person to then bring people to social media to then nurture and sell there.
got it. So I like it. I like this type of stuff a lot. Um, Anytime when you can bring out and fly your geek flag high and invite people like you to participate in that, it's a fantastic way to build immediate community and to give people an excuse to get out and do something for themselves. Especially the people who you work with is just a community that just does everything for everybody else and often not for themselves. And I know, I mean, I'm thinking about my wife. She loves arts and basically crafting, and that's her community. And it energizes her, no matter how tired she is. She'll do an hour or 2 hours of crafting with a group of like often old ladies. Like she went yesterday and she was the youngest by 30 years. But she got back, man. She was fired up. And those are her people. And she does not give herself permission um, to take time for herself unless there's something like that. She wouldn't for, well, she kind of does for fitness, but she wouldn't really for fitness to the extent that she does for this. Like fitness has to be fit around stuff. This, she fits stuff around it. And that's a pretty fundamental difference. So I like it. What I don't like about it is working with local bookstores. And I only say that, I don't know the bookstores, obviously, by you. I only say that just because my experience has shown me so clearly that you just can't depend on any other business anywhere to do anything. It's all going to be you. I mean, they'll do something if you organize all of it, pay for all of it, and bring every single customer in there. And perhaps there's something to that, but I don't think that you need them. And it might be more trouble than it's worth to use the bookstores. Now, if they let you put signs up and stuff like that, that's cool. But I wonder whether there's like the community has got to be built around the books and not the fitness. And then you invite people into that community. You invite people from that community to participate in the challenges when you're doing them. And over time, it becomes known that people are doing this thing. And you're going to have people put their hands up after they've seen it 6 times, especially people who have not done anything for themselves physically for a long time or ever, which I would think would probably be a lot of your people. I saw this thing, I think it was Carolina Balmares posted it. It's happening in her city, and it was like an introverts reading night. And what it was everybody gets together in a spot. I don't know, it was like a lounge or something. In a spot, doesn't matter where it is, right? Could be in a bookstore, could be anywhere that has space, could be a community center. It's like a place with couches. And for the first 30 minutes, everybody meets each other, and then everybody reads books quietly by themselves in that space. And I saw her post about that, and I was like, I would be there in a heartbeat if I was in Toronto. And so I wonder whether there's a space for something like that where you can do these like pop-up introvert book talk nights where you're inviting these women to do something for themselves that they wouldn't otherwise do. Getting their kids looked after, partners, whatever, parents, doesn't matter. And there's a little bit of socialization and community building, but also it's just like, no, it's just read by yourself in a comfortable chair around other people who are also reading. And naturally, there's going to be some mixing. And then all that you're doing is building an email list and probably hosting some sort of online community locally around this. And then from that, you announce the challenges. And, the Valkyrie,
Sure.
whatever, however you pronounce it. For people like, well, I think you talk to more people than I do. For people like me who reads a lot of books and doesn't talk to people, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of words. I know how to spell them. The connection there is loose, but I do like that idea of, I think that you could bring that community together, and I think that the community is true to you and a great community for training. But I also think that it's going to take a little bit of time for them to warm up to the idea of training because it's probably pretty foreign to them. But if they're in a community that they want to be in for other reasons and they're seeing this stuff and they're seeing these people celebrated that maybe aren't fitness models, that are people like them, that are being celebrated for, moving and doing something for themselves physically, it'll empower them to join for the next one. I do like that. What do you think? What are you
I think
thinking?
I already know where I would host it. So this introvert reading night, but
I love the introvert reading night thing. I kind of want to do those at home. I'm like, I want to be around people, but I don't want to talk to people.
yeah,
It's great.
as a non-introvert though, it'll be hard for me to stay quiet.
Well, you could almost like poke fun at it. You could have like an extroverts table.
An extrovert too. Here's the board games over here for the people who want to talk.
But like, I mean, it's funny, but kinda, right? Like kinda.
Or like there's places now that like there's board game places here where you can put a red card up if you don't want people to talk to you and a green if you do want people to talk to
Oh,
you.
okay.
So something like that. Like, hey, I just want to read, don't talk to me.
Yeah, there's something there. I love those types of atmospheres. I have this feeling that that type every once in a while I get this feeling, and this is like where the Obvious Choice book came from too. It was the same feeling of just there's something that is hard to describe, but it's bubbling underneath the surface in a cultural zeitgeist of just constant frustration of what are we doing here? This doesn't feel right. I feel lost. I feel aimless. I don't feel like I'm around my people. And there's something to what you're talking about there where I get that same sort of feeling where even for somebody who isn't right, who isn't interested in book talk or these types of books or doesn't live near you or whatever, right? I think everybody here is probably thinking the same thing, which is that's not for me, but I get it. And if there was some sort of a community type thing like that for stuff that I'm interested, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I do feel like there's that energy bubbling underneath the surface right now. And you're starting to see this for a lot of business retreats. They're not like business retreats where you hear people talk about business. It's like a business retreat where you play poker, or a business retreat where you go and you play Settlers of Catan for 3 days. And it's whatever you're into, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's your people now that you're going to see, not just some kind of faceless room. Um, and then part of this is, I mean, what's trust? There's three elements to it. It's a triangle. Trust is community, trust is familiarity, and then trust is specificity. And it's any combination of those three things. And so specificity is something that does one thing, we trust more than something that does that one thing and anything else. So a trainer who specifically works with postnatal mothers who have had a C-section who live on what's the example that I always give, on an army base. Like, you could work with that person, but somebody who says that they specialize in that person is going to be trusted more than somebody who works with those people and anybody else. So number one is specificity, right? Number two is familiarity, just things we see more often. And so, that speaks for itself. And then number three is community, which is what you're talking about. It's affinity, it's community. We trust people who we have uncommon commonalities with beyond their expertise. Some sort of weird, quirky thing. And people will trust you more for fitness because you organize a group of book talkers. That's just how trust works. It's not logical. It doesn't mean that you're better at fitness than somebody else. I mean, you are good, but it's just one of those weird things about how the human brain works. And so, you're not going to be like crazy converting people, but there's probably a lot of these people who feel like they want to do a fitness or health program. And a lot of what's stopping them is some combination of belief in themselves, is making the time for it, and of trusting that what they're going to do this time, they're actually going to stick to. It's actually going to work. I think what you're talking about really bridges that gap.
Amber again, thanks for listening in. This episode was from a group call from Jonathan's online trainer mentorship, where we host hot seats every 2 weeks. The mentorship is where we take anyone doing from $1,000 to $20,000 a month or more and help them scale up. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in learning more about, please DM the word mentor to Jonathan on Instagram at @itscoachgoodman. If you're looking for another episode to listen to right now, I'd recommend episode 153, Letting Your Geek Flag Fly. If you've been struggling with the direction of your business and getting clients, the way to fix it is a lot more simple than you think. In this episode, you'll learn what's better than being the best at what you do, the 4-part checklist to choosing a good market, and finding your very own SNASA. Again, that's episode 153, Letting Your Geek Flag Fly. Thanks again for listening in, and we'll catch you next week.